How'd we get everything to work?
I don't know. It says I need another quarter.
When the people making news have something important to say, they come to the most trusted name in news. This week, a CNN exclusive. IAEA Director Mohammed El-Berde spoke with Paula Zahn on American Morning. Key Whitewater figure Susan McDougal stepped into the crossfire. And Senator Hillary Clinton discussed the state of Homeland Security with CNN's Judy Woodruff. Plus, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Kathy Bates, and Martin Scorsese all join Larry for Tinseltown Talk. Each week, see it for yourself on CNN.
Chances are, if your teenage daughter came home one day and said, "I want to do a science project about marijuana," you'd hit the roof, right? Well, not long ago, 13-year-old California 8th grader Veronica Mauser did just that. She called her study plan Mary Jane for Pain and spent 2 months documenting the effects of medicinal marijuana. Because of federal laws against marijuana, but despite state laws allowing pot's medicinal use, Veronica's school banned her project from the science fair. But Veronica's dad backed her up, and today the story took another turn. Veronica joins us now from Belmont, California, along with District Superintendent Ann Campbell. Thank you both for being with us. Where did you get this idea of doing your science project on medicinal marijuana?
I had a really close family relative that was sick for a really long time. So he had to use medical marijuana, so that's how I got my idea.
So you proceeded with your project. You took 3 patients, and what did you ask them to do?
I asked them to use medical marijuana for 1 week and record in a log how they felt and how it helped them, and then not use it for a week and record how they felt then.
And the result was?
All 3 of them felt better while using the medical marijuana, and they had to use less of their other pain medications.
All right, so it was you actually who went to the principal and tried to get approval as well. I mean, you just wanted to make sure that all of this was okay before you submitted it to the science fair. And when you went to the principal, what happened?
I was told that they were going to think about it, so several times I was called into the office throughout about a week, and we talked about it, and they asked me questions about my project, and finally, Friday of last week, they called me in and said no.
Were you upset?
Yeah, I was upset. I was really upset because I had put all this work into my project, and then I was told that I couldn't do it.
All right, so ultimately, the superintendent had to get in on this, and in fact, Ms. Campbell, what did you decide?
Well, this morning we met with Veronica and her parents, and Jeff Kusher from our district office and Gary Nakagiri, who's our science consultant from San Mateo County, to review the project. The principal had never actually been able to see the final product. What she was working from was an outline of the project that Veronica had prepared. Veronica did an outstanding job this morning of presenting her data. It was obvious, as she's talked with you about today, that she had actually performed an experiment in terms of asking people to not use their medicinal marijuana to study the effects of that.
So now she is able to submit her project results to the science fair. Why did you feel you should overturn the earlier decision?
I think when we sat down and looked at it, trying to be as fair as possible as we could, when we looked at the guidelines for the science fair that the kids were given at Ralston and looked at the project that Veronica had done, there really was nothing in the guidelines that the kids were operating from that would have restricted this type of a proposal. I think what we've learned from this experience is we want to be real careful before students start on their proposals that the guidelines are very clear, and if there are issues that the school has concern about, that they've expressed them early on.
Veronica, what have you learned from this experience, and what do you think the school system has learned through this experience?
I think the school system has actually learned that some students will stand up for their rights and they won't just back down when somebody says no. And I've learned just basically to stand up for what you believe in and, you know, don't get pushed down.
Well, good for you, Veronica. One last question to Superintendent Campbell. Do you feel that the rules should be revised in some way based on this problem that you found yourself in?
I think it's a really interesting question, Connie, because as we're working with middle school kids, we're working very, very hard to help them understand the ill effects that drugs can have. And yet, on the other hand, as Veronica has shown with her project today, there also may be medicinal effects that are positive. And so that's a real question for us, because we don't want to give a mixed message to our kids.
Veronica, based on this, do you think you might want to become a doctor?
I really want to be a lawyer when I grow up. I love debating things.
Well, there you go. I think that's excellent. Thank you, Veronica Mauser and Superintendent Campbell. We appreciate your being with us.
Thank you, Connie.
Congratulations,
Bye-bye.
Veronica. And still ahead, our next guest got really high by accident. Wait till you see how. Stay with us.
Played Anaheim and plays Arizona, and it's very popular.
Yeah.
The field is protected, and in most of the parks, they're able to save the field. So the
Okay.
field should be protected. If not, we have time to replant the grass and generate a beautiful field for opening day.
Okay.
So we think it'll be okay. The dirt will eventually be moved. The promoter is working with the city to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, and if you want free dirt, there it is, down the Pac-Ball Park parking lot.
It's fun. You know, people say, well, why do you do these things? Well, why not? I mean, do you want to leave the beautiful ballpark empty for 6 months? I don't think so.
All right, well, more information on FanFest, you go to sfgiants.com.
Yeah.
All the information is there. It's this weekend. Thanks for being with us, Larry.
Feel the bug yet, Mark?
Oh, a little bit. Now back to Mark Curtis in the studio.
All right, Mark and Larry, thanks. I can't wait for baseball season to get underway either. Time now is 8:46. A huge controversy has erupted over a medical marijuana science fair project. It landed a 13-year-old in a little bit of hot water. We're going to talk to her live next here on Mornings on 2. Stay with us.
SBC Pacific Bell is now simply SBC. New look, same great service, SBC.
Announcing non-drowsy allergy medicine you can take right when you need it. It's Alavert. New Alavert starts dissolving the instant it touches your phone without water. So Alavert is non-drowsy relief you can take inside, outside, in your car, wherever you are. Imagine non-drowsy 24-hour relief in a quick-dissolving tablet. New quick-dissolving Alavert. Allergy medicine you can take right when you need it, wherever you are.
You can store all this at Public Storage and pay just $1 for the first month's rent. You can store all this at Public Storage and still pay just $1 for the first month's rent. You can even store all this at Public Storage and still pay just $1 for the first month's rent. Call 1-800-44-STORE now. Offer ends soon.
SBC Pacific Bell is now simply SBC. New look, same great service, SBC.
Kramer's got a new look. What did you do? I boasted up. On the next, Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, tonight at 7:30 on Fox 2.
This month, select new Toyotas come with a great accessory, cold hard cash. As in $2,000 back on Sienna, $1,000 on Tundra, and $500 on Solara. Be the first on your block to drive a new Toyota equipped with up to $2,000. Or get 0% APR financing on Sienna and 0% on Solara. Cash back or 0% financing. You decide. But hurry, these deals end soon, so see your Toyota dealer today.
Good morning. Fog continues to be pretty thick in some spots. It's starting to burn off, though, but it'll be with us for another hour or so. Then we'll have a mostly sunny day. A little hazy. Highs, though, above normal, mid-60s, maybe even a few upper 60s, Santa Clara Valley and the peninsula. More of the same tomorrow. We continue on Mornings on 2. Here's Mr. Curtis.
And welcome back at 8:48. One of the science fair projects at a Belmont school has gone up in smoke. The smoldering debate over medical marijuana has prompted school officials to just say no to a project called Mary Jane for Pain. The student who created it is 13-year-old Veronica Mauser. She joins us live this morning with her stepfather, Dave Phillips. Thanks for coming in this morning. You're 13, you're an 8th grader. Why did you choose medical marijuana as the subject for your science fair project?
I had a really close family friend who was really sick for a long time, and he had to use cannabis. So I became interested in the topic and decided to do a science fair project on it.
But let's be clear, you're not advocating marijuana use. There's actually no marijuana displayed in your project, is there?
Absolutely not.
So what's your reaction to this? Because I believe the science teacher said, okay, go ahead, and you did it, and then the principal said no. What's your reaction to that?
I think that they're, in a way, more focused on saving themselves and protecting themselves. It's not really just the topic. And the fact that I was the only student that had to go to the principal and get permission to do this, it makes me a little bit angry.
Talk about your research a little bit. You talked to some medical marijuana patients. I believe you visited the Cannabis Club in Oakland. I mean, how much research, and during your research, did you ever actually come in contact with marijuana?
I did come in contact with marijuana, but I was under close supervision throughout my whole project. Every detail of research that I got offline was read by my parents before I read it. So
your stepdad is here. What's your reaction to this? Because obviously you're supervising this. This is a learning experience for your daughter, and you want it to be a positive one. You aren't advocating marijuana use. How do you feel she's been treated by school officials?
I'm disappointed. We would have had no problem with the school's decision not to allow the project if they would have said that from the beginning, but they didn't make that decision until a week and a half ago, and she's already finished with her project, and that's a big deal at our house every year working on the science fair project, and she's put a couple months of hard work into the project.
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because I've got kids in school too, and you want the schools to be advocates against drug use. You guys probably have a DARE program. Most schools do. Now, we're going to look at some of your experiments here. And again, the thing I want to be clear about is you're not advocating marijuana use. You're really trying to be a scientist, aren't you? You're trying to have a serious debate on the benefits and perhaps the negative consequences of this, right?
In no way am I trying to advocate the use of marijuana. In fact, I think that schools talk to the children about how bad drugs can be, but I think that they need to, say something from the other side. You never see that.
Well, speaking of the other side, and this is maybe the thing that worried me the most, and maybe it's the journalist in me, I wondered how much of your report presented the other side. I know you had people who say it has its benefits, but we know nationally we've had a couple presidents against it, the FDA is against it. There are people who believe that the medical marijuana is a myth, that it really has no benefit. Did you include comments from them in your report?
I do say how smoking medical marijuana can harm you in ways, and how the people at the Cannabis Club strongly recommend using a vaporizer or eating it, and they don't want you to smoke it. And smoking it can be harmful to yourself.
Okay, so there's some balance in the presentation. The ACLU has been contacted. I mentioned earlier on the show, this is making national headlines now. I mean, for all you know, you guys are going to wind up on 60 Minutes or something, but how far are you going to pursue this, Dave? I mean, is the ACLU getting involved? This could be a court fight. I mean, where's this going?
We had no idea that it would generate this type of emotion in the public, so we don't know where we're going. The superintendent has agreed to meet with Veronica later this morning and review the project for herself and make a final determination if it's appropriate to enter into the science fair.
Okay, I want to mention, too, that we would love to hear the school side of the story as well. We want to thank both of you for coming this morning. We're going to follow the story because, as you say, it's possible this decision could be reversed today. Veronica Mauser and Dave Phillips, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Time now is 8:53. When we come back, we'll update Bay Area traffic and weather. Stay with us for more of Mornings on 2.
About civil liberties. A Belmont teen has won her fight to display research about medical marijuana. KRON 4's Wallace Alvear has the story. She's live in Belmont tonight. Wallace.
Tom, when the 7th and 8th grade science fair opens here at Ralston Middle School tomorrow night here in Belmont, Veronica Mauser's project on medical marijuana will be included with the rest of the students. But it is a fight she had to have with the district to be included.
Vaporizer is the suggested method for administering medical marijuana for most patients.
13-year-old Veronica Mauser knew her science project on medical marijuana called Mary Jane for Pain was controversial. But she was stunned when the district banned it from the science fair, even though her teacher approved it months ago.
It said that I wasn't allowed to do a project on an illegal drug, which I said that in 1997, Prop 215 states that medical marijuana is legal in California, so I didn't really understand that.
The district told News Center 4 the project also didn't meet the guidelines of being a hands-on experiment. But Veronica and her stepfather, Dave Phillips, disagreed and took action.
We filed a complaint with the school district, and everything just escalated from there.
Newspapers, then TV stations called.
Veronica's school banned her project from the science fair.
Veronica's story went national. She and the district superintendent were on CNN with Connie Chung.
He went to the principal. What happened?
The 7th grader, who wants to be a lawyer when she grows up, says it was strange to watch herself on TV, but believes strongly that the subject, while controversial, is not inappropriate for a middle school science fair.
We learn about drugs in DARE. We learn about it in school and health. And there's no reason why we shouldn't learn about the other side of drugs as well.
Which is what?
Which is that they can be beneficial.
Her persistence paid off. The district reviewed her project, ruled it did meet all of the required guidelines, and will allow it in the science fair after all.
And even if I weren't in the science fair, I'd still be glad for what I did. I stood up for myself, and I stood up for what I believe in.
As for the district, it plans to review the guidelines and make them much clearer when it comes to projects on illegal substances. In Belmont, Wallace Alvear, KRON 4 News.
Thanks, Wallace. He's worth billions, his company losing billions.
After the blast, word went out for people living near the plant to evacuate.
I was in my office and we
was in school and the positive uses of marijuana.
Welcome to a full night of all new episodes on the WB's New Tuesday.
I want to know everything about you.
All new